Thinking about moving to Florida? Think again. Set from the southeastern United States, Florida's subtropical climate attracts millions of visitors every year. It's never chilly, and no region of the nation is far from the shore. Using its theme parks, golf courses, sun, and exotic creatures, it is no surprise that everybody would like to reside in Florida. Florida can be a popular destination for women. It has a meager cost of living, no state income taxation, and its high population of retirees signifies that there are plenty of activities for seniors. Additionally, it has a massive choice of active adult communities and an adequate health care system. How many people live in Florida? According to the 2014 census projections, Florida is the third most populous country in the United States, placing it ahead of New York but behind California and Texas. Presently, nearly 21 million people reside in the Sunshine State, and its yearly growth rate of 1.8% is above the national average. The majority of the populous growth is because of people moving to Florida from other nations. Thinking about moving to Florida? Think again. It's not all sunshine, seashore, and smiles. Here are 20 reasons to not move to Florida. 1. Some men and women are old. There are a whole lot of old folks in Florida, and they push too damn slow, so they're blinkers on the entire time. I understand this because I'm among these. You cannot blame them a lot, as their hearing loss and eyesight aren't as high. But you need to share the street. Most of Florida's growth is a result of its influx of couples. Therefore, this issue is just likely to get worse. 2. Tourists visit Florida. About 100 million people visit Florida every year. That's a good deal of individuals. They clog airports and airports. In Orlando, where I reside, the streets close to the theme parks also have bumper-to-bumper traffic. Being made to push 5 miles will provide you a lot of time to relish the sight of this tacky and garish souvenir stores and fast food eateries that line the tourist strip. Within the parks, what's clean and shiny and new, plus they resemble a dreamland. Outside the parks? Not too much. 3. Traffic is awful. In Central Florida, the primary highway is I-4. It extends from Daytona Beach on the east coast, through Orlando, and finishes at Tampa on the west coast. It's the road. The traffic is quite congested, and if there's an injury, and there are lots, traffic may come to a standstill for hours. Traffic will probably be worse since I-4 undergoes a significant renovation to include extra lanes. The repair will require 6 years, 2015 to 2021. I hear I-95, around the Miami region, is equally as bad. 4. Florida has poor gun coverages. George Zimmerman, the guy who had been acquitted because of his murder of Trayvon Martin, an unarmed teenager, isn't the sole trigger-happy idiot in Florida. 2 other instances come to mind. Curtis Reeves shot and murdered an unarmed young dad in a movie theater since he was texting through the previews, and Michael Dunn shot right into a van full of teenagers, killing one since they had been enjoying their music too loudly. The former received a life sentence, and that means you'll be secure from him. However, Florida has a stand your ground legislation, which many people interpret as a license to kill. Florida is NRA land. Shootings are so prevalent that the press does not even bother to record them. Florida has gun ranges where kids can take on weapons. Someone was murdered when a woman was shooting a Uzi in control of the gun. Giving an Uzi into some 9-year-old, what might go wrong? In Florida, we regularly hear about somebody killed by a bullet shot into the air in celebration of something or other, or of somebody shot with a stray bullet in their very own backyard fired by somebody doing a little target practice. 5. Individuals of Florida make voting decisions. The folks of Florida chosen Ron DeSantis as governor. Ahead of that, they picked Rick Scott for governor. What you need to comprehend concerning Rick Scott is that before he ran for governor, he had been CEO of Columbia, HCA. The business presided over the most massive Medicare fraud in the firm had to cover a $1.7 billion nice. Rick Scott asserted he did not understand anything, but he needed to beg the roughly 75 occasions. If Rick Scott had been CEO and did not understand this huge fraud was going on right under his nose as a very bad supervisor, he would be a criminal if he did understand. Is he the sort of person you'd want to run your nation? Individuals of Florida stated, yes. Would you like these folks, that have such judgment, to be your own neighbors? 6. Florida is sexy. I recognize people are coming to Florida looking for a hot climate. However, Florida is actually very hot and also the humidity is quite high. There are 2 seasons in Florida: summertime and August, the latter of which lasts. If you enjoy a 90-degree heatwave in December, then you'll like Florida. 7. The roaches are enormous. Roaches enjoy the hot weather as much as people do. They grow massive. Not that large, possibly as large as a baby's fist, and that is relatively significant. If you move to Florida, the very first thing you have to do is register with a pest management firm. They'll come to a home regularly and cure for pests. Luckily, nowadays, the pest control businesses use chemical barriers that they apply to the exterior of your home. They aren't 100% successful, but should they fail, and the pest control firm should offer extra remedies at no extra cost, be certain that they do. 8. Sharknado would happen in Florida. Volusia County in Florida is the shark bite capital of the world. There are a lot of tons of the sort of fish and people in the water that bees love to eat swimming about. The sharks swim to beach. It is just 20 to 30 attacks annually and many aren't deadly. There haven't been any tornado-borne sharks. Come on in, the water is nice. 9. You may locate a bear in your garage. Developers guideline in Florida. What programmers need, programmers get. What developers need is. Since the inhabitants of Florida grows, the amount of increases along with also the habitat declines. Quite often, homes get built too near the bears' habitats, and these hungry bears go looking for food. People put their garbage out in unsecured trash cans, which is like putting out an all-you-can-eat buffet sign for the bears. These animals are big and strong, and they can break into your garage or patio. 10. You might find an alligator in your pool. There are over 1 million wild alligators in Florida. These reptiles prefer freshwater habitats like swamps and marshes, but they can also be found in rivers, lakes, and other small bodies of water, like your swimming pool or retention ponds. If you live near an alligator habitat, you may just find an alligator taking a dip in your pool. 11. You might find a python in your backyard. Pythons are invasive species in Florida, so they have no natural predators. Every year, there is the Great Burmese Python Hunt for hunters to go out and kill pythons. If you bring back the largest one, you win a cash prize. Happy hunting. 12. Florida has hurricanes. Hurricane season lasts from June 1st to November 30th, although now and then a hurricane hits outside these months. I survived the hurricane season of 2004 when 4 major hurricanes hit 3 of them where I live. The first and the worst was Hurricane Charlie, with winds up to 150 miles an hour. I had some relatively minor damage to my house, but the worst thing was that I had no electricity for a week. It was kind of fun for the first few, kind like a camping trip, but it gets old fast. Maybe I shouldn't even mention the hurricanes. Every place has natural disasters. The north has blizzards, and the west has earthquakes. I'd much rather mop up water than shovel snow, and I don't much like the idea of the earth opening up. 13. The ground opens up in Florida. It is called a sinkhole. Wait, the earth opening up? That happens pretty often in Florida, and it's called a sinkhole. A hole suddenly opens up in the ground, able to swallow up a car, house, or even a whole neighborhood. A sinkhole occurs because of the Florida aquifer, which is the source of much of Florida's drinking water. The ground beneath Florida is composed of porous limestone, which is a natural cache for rainwater. When the water level gets too low, the ground can cave in, forming a sinkhole. As the population of Florida grows, more water is taken from the aquifer. This means more sinkholes. 14. Florida has tornadoes. Florida has more tornadoes per square mile than any other state. However, to be fair, the hurricanes in Florida are not usually as bad as those in the Midwest. On the other hand, 5 times more people die from a tornado in Florida than in Kansas. 15. Florida is the lightning capital of the United States. Sea breezes from the east and west coasts meet in the middle of the state, causing severe thunderstorms during the summer months. They occur, on average, 100 times a year, and are often accompanied by lightning. 16. Florida is flat. The highest elevation in Florida is 345 feet. It is called Britton Hill. In comparison, the Empire State Building in New York is 1,454 feet high, including the spire. 17. Florida can't run a national election right. In the 2000 election, Florida earned the nickname Florida due to this Bush-Gore presidential election. Years after, Florida still has election issues. In 2012, to be able to vote, some individuals had to stand in line for 7 to 8 hours. 18. Florida is not friendly. Pedestrian deaths are considerably higher in Florida than the federal average. There are various streets with traffic lights, and when there are lights, there are long stretches between these. This also results in people trying to cross 6 lanes of traffic. Although pedestrians in Florida have the right of way, motorists do not like to return. The cars behind you'll likely begin honking their horns. Should you stop for a pedestrian? Please stop. 19. Many Florida public colleges are not great. The failures of those schools aren't because of poor teachers as Governors Jeb Bush and Rick Scott would have you think. It's due to funding and also a deliberate effort to undermine the colleges. There are. Also, college begins in the middle of August at Florida. Everybody knows school isn't supposed to start until after Labor Day. 20. Florida's government is rife with corruption. It's not only a Florida issue, but Florida beneath former governors Jeb Bush and Rick Scott could be one of the worst.